Before CGI became the backbone of action cinema, RoboCop 1987 proved that practical effects alone could shock, disturb, and amaze audiences. Directed by Paul Verhoeven, this sci-fi classic didn't just tell a futuristic story, it felt real thanks to its raw, physical filmmaking techniques. From explosive squib work to stop-motion robotics and chaotic shootouts, every scene was crafted with hands-on effects that pushed actors, crew, and technology to their limits. Let's break down some of the most iconic behind-the-scenes moments that made RoboCop unforgettable. One of the most shocking scenes in the film happens right at the beginning. During a corporate boardroom demonstration, the character Dick Jones introduced ED-209, enforcement robot, and to showcase its capabilities, Kenny is asked to simulate a threat, but within seconds, the machine malfunctions, and what follows is a brutally excessive barrage of gunfire. The scene feels disturbingly real, and that's because it was achieved entirely without CGI. Actor Kevin Page was fitted with over 200 squibs, small explosive blood packs, across his body. Each squib was triggered one after another, simulating bullet impacts in rapid succession. Every explosion delivered a physical jolt, making the performance not just visually intense, but physically demanding. Director Paul Verhoeven wasn't satisfied with the initial take, feeling it lacked brutality, so the scene was reshot, this time pushing the realism even further. To enhance the effect, the crew added fake blood mixed with food materials, like spaghetti squash, inside the costume. When the squibs detonate, it created a meshy, flesh-like texture that made the gunfire look horrifyingly real. The sequence was filmed in multiple takes and carefully edited together, resulting in one of the most graphic and memorable death scenes of the 80s. The ED-209 robot may look like a single advanced machine on screen, but in reality, it was created using a combination of different filmmaking techniques. On set, a full-size, 7-foot model of ED-209 was used as a reference for the actors. This helped them understand the robot's scale and react accurately. However, this version wasn't capable of movement. For scenes where the robot walks, turns, or fires its weapons, the filmmakers used detailed miniature models. These miniatures were animated using stop motion, a painstaking process where the model is moved slightly, one frame is captured, and then the process is repeated hundreds of times to create the motion. To integrate these animated shots into real environments, the team used rear projection. First, the live-action background was filmed, then the footage was projected behind the miniature while it was being animated, making it appear as though ED-209 existed within the real set. Interestingly, Paul Verhoeven intentionally avoided smooth, perfect movement. He wanted ED-209 to feel heavy, unstable, and slightly awkward, like a dangerous machine that could malfunction at any moment. For the iconic staircase fall, the team didn't rely on animation. Instead, they used a physically weighted model and simply dropped it down the stairs. The result was unpredictable, raw, and incredibly realistic, something no animation could replicate at the time. Another standout moment in the film is when RoboCop, played by Peter Weller, raids Clarence Boddicker's hideout. What appears on screen as chaotic, uncontrolled violence was actually the result of precise planning and execution. The sequence was shot in a real industrial location, which was transformed into a gritty drug lab using pipes, chemicals, smoke, and dim lighting. This gave the environment a dirty, dangerous atmosphere that amplified the intensity of the gunfight. Director Paul Verhoeven meticulously planned the entire sequence shot by shot, ensuring that the chaos looked natural while remaining completely safe. Actors and stunt performers were equipped with squibs that exploded on cue, creating realistic bullet impacts and blood sprays. Instead of real ammunition, blank rounds, sparks, and debris effects were used to simulate gunfire without risk. RoboCop's signature slow, mechanical movement was another key element. Peter Weller wore a heavy suit and practiced extensively to move like a machine, deliberate, rigid, and unstoppable. All the dangerous moments, from falls to explosive reactions, were performed by trained stunt professionals. In post-production, rapid editing, loud sound design, and continuous gunfire effects were layered in, turning the sequence into a relentless storm of action. Now, if you look at the moment during the raid when RoboCop, Murphy, grabs Clarence and violently throws him straight into a glass panel, it feels incredibly brutal and real on screen. The way the glass shatters instantly on impact makes it look like a dangerous, full-force collision, but in reality, this moment was carefully engineered using classic practical effects. To achieve this, the filmmakers used a special material known as breakaway glass, or sugar glass. This type of glass is designed to look exactly like real glass on camera, but is actually much more fragile and lightweight, allowing it to shatter safely, even with controlled force. Instead of throwing actor Kurtwood Smith directly into something dangerous, the scene was executed using a trained stunt performer. The stunt team carefully choreographed the entire movement, ensuring that the impact looked powerful while remaining completely safe. The glass itself was pre-scored and strategically prepared, so that the moment RoboCop pushes Clarence, it breaks in a perfectly cinematic way, spreading outward in controlled fragments, rather than unpredictably. To further ensure safety, soft crash pads and hidden protective setups were placed just outside the camera frame, so when the stunt performer fell through, there was minimal risk of injury. After the stunt was completed, makeup effects were added to enhance the damage, small cuts, bruises, and impact details, making the aftermath feel even more believable. When all of this is combined, stunt coordination, breakaway glass, hidden safety measures, and subtle makeup work, the result is a scene that feels raw, aggressive, and completely real. In the film's climax, when Clarence Boddicker moves in to finish RoboCop, the scene suddenly flips. RoboCop drives his data spike straight into Clarence's neck, triggering an explosive burst of blood. What looks shocking, even today, was achieved entirely through practical effects. To create this moment, the special effects team designed a detailed prosthetic neck for the actor, embedded with hidden tubes connected to a pressurized fake blood system. The instant the spike made contact, an off-camera pump was triggered, forcing fake blood out at high pressure. This created that sudden, fountain-like spray that makes the scene feel so violent and real. To enhance the impact, the camera was positioned in tight close-ups, and the timing between the spike insertion and blood burst was perfectly synchronized. Director Paul Verhoeven originally wanted the scene to be even more graphic, but censorship restrictions forced him to tone it down slightly. Even then, the final result feels incredibly raw, a perfect blend of prosthetic makeup, hidden tubing, pressure systems, and sharp editing. It's a clear example of how practical effects can create something far more disturbing than CGI. Perhaps the most disturbing sequence in RoboCop is Murphy's death. When the gang captures him, shoots off his hand, and then unloads bullets into him, the brutality feels uncomfortably real because almost everything was done practically. To achieve the hand destruction, the filmmakers built a clever setup using a false floor. Actor Peter Weller hid his real arm beneath the platform, while a prosthetic arm was placed above it for the shot. When the shotgun blast hits, the visible hand was actually a fiberglass prop rigged with tubes, fake blood, and compressed air. Once triggered, it burst apart convincingly, spraying blood in a way that mimicked real impact. For shots where the entire arm is torn off, a lightweight polyfoam arm was attached, using Velcro, and then yanked away with a nearly invisible wire. This created a natural, sudden detachment that looked horrifyingly real on camera. The gunfire effects were achieved using squibs placed under the costume. Each explosion simulated bullet hits, while baby powder was added to create a dust-like burst, giving the illusion of armor breaking apart. Director Paul Verhoeven intentionally pushed this scene to be over the top and shocking. Without relying on CGI, the combination of prosthetics, squibs, and physical effects resulted in a sequence that still feels disturbingly authentic decades later. In the end of this brutal sequence, when Clarence delivers the final headshot to Murphy, the moment feels shockingly real, almost too real to watch. But what's actually happening behind the scenes is a perfect example of advanced practical effects and animatronics at their peak. For this shot, the filmmakers did not use the real actor. Instead, they created a highly detailed animatronic puppet that perfectly replicated Murphy's face. This dummy was constructed using foam latex skin layered over a fiberglass skull structure, giving it both flexibility and durability for the effect. Inside the puppet, the special effects team installed squibs, fake blood packs, and soft internal materials, all carefully arranged to simulate realistic tissue and impact. The entire set was connected through hidden wiring systems, so the moment the gun was fired, the effect would trigger instantly. As soon as the shot goes off, the back of the head appears to violently explode outward, with blood and fragments bursting in a way that feels disturbingly authentic. The RoboCop suit itself isn't just a costume, it's one of the most impressive practical creations of the 1980s. Designed by legendary effects artist Rob Bottin, the suit perfectly captures the idea of half man, half machine. Interestingly, the first version of the suit created for the film was rejected because it looked too bulky and unrealistic. Bottin then redesigned it from scratch, focusing on a balance between human identity and robotic structure. Director Paul Verhoeven wanted RoboCop to feel like a machine, not a superhero, which is why the final design features sharp, industrial lines and minimal human exposure, with only parts of the face visible. The suit took about 10 months to build and became one of the most expensive props in the film. It was constructed using a hard fiberglass outer shell with foam padding inside and divided into nearly 60 separate pieces. Instead of simply wearing it, the actor had to be assembled into it piece by piece, essentially being built into RoboCop before each shoot. Multiple versions of the suit were created, including standard, damaged, and stunt variants for different scenes. While the suit looked incredible on screen, wearing it was extremely challenging for Peter Weller. Putting it on took a significant amount of time and required assistance from the crew. The suit was heavy and restrictive, making even basic movement difficult. Walking, turning, and performing action sequences required careful rehearsal so that RoboCop's movements appeared slow, mechanical, and precise. Inside the suit, conditions were even tougher. There was very little ventilation, causing intense heat buildup during filming. The helmet's narrow visor limited visibility, making it difficult for the actor to see clearly while performing. What makes RoboCop 1987 stand out even today is its commitment to practical filmmaking. There were no shortcuts. Every explosion, every bullet hit, and every robotic movement was physically created on set. Through a combination of squib effects, stop-motion animation, real locations, and precise direction, Paul Verhoeven crafted a film that feels raw, grounded, and disturbingly real. If you enjoyed discovering these behind-the-scenes secrets of this movie, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into how iconic films were actually made. And before you go, let me know in the comments which movies behind the scenes should we explore next.